Hello, Gates Tri-Light community. I am Christopher Daly, and I'm the superintendent here in the Gates Tri-Light Central School District. Thank you all for joining us for this live virtual forum on such short notice. With the enrollment intent deadline tomorrow, we wanted to give families the opportunity to hear a little more about our instructional model so they can make informed decisions about their child's enrollment for the fall semester. At the governor's request, we'll be holding 2 more of these forums in the coming days to address additional questions and concerns. In addition, for any of our instructional staff watching out there, we'll be holding a separate forum to address your questions. This is the first time we've done this, so please bear with us if we have to troubleshoot anything along the way. I am joined tonight by several members of my administrative team, all of whom have served on our reopening task force. Assistant Superintendent for Instruction, Carol Stem, Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources and Labor Relations, Michaela Parado, Assistant Superintendent for Business, Dr. Mitch Ball, Director of People Personnel Service, Jason Dion, Director of Facilities, George English, and our Director of Transportation, Matt Humboldt. This group is just one small subset of a larger reopening task force that has been meeting since mid-June to plan for the reopening of our school buildings this fall. These folks and others have been working tirelessly to ensure a safe and healthy environment for our students and our staff. It is important to remember that oftentimes we are learning about new guidelines and regulations along with you, the general public. This team and other staff members have jumped into action each time to adapt and adjust our plans accordingly. The format for this evening will be as follows. We'll spend a few minutes addressing the items that we've received the most questions about. That is instruction, health screenings, cleaning protocols, and transportation. Once we're done addressing each of these areas, if you still have additional questions, please submit them using the live chat function to the right of the video. Please also be mindful of asking questions that have already been asked. We will do our best to answer as many questions as possible within the hour. All other questions will be added to the FAQ section of the district website within 3 days. Again, we thank you so much for joining us on short notice. We hope you find this forum to be informative. Let's get started by talking about instruction. Last spring was unique in that we did not have set guidelines. We sort of had to roll with it as it unfolded. We understand this was frustrating for families. We learned a lot during those first months of COVID-19 and are using those lessons as we developed our plans for this year. This directly impacted our summer professional development for staff and how we will continue trainings throughout our year. We have been preparing to utilize our devices to enhance instruction, whether in person or remotely. Speaking of devices, will we have devices for all students? Yes. We will be providing laptops for students that need them, as well as those that have already been issued. We will be working with families that have let us know via the registration that they need help with getting internet access. We will be announcing our laptop distribution and reaching out to families that need help with the internet shortly. As of today at 4 o'clock, we had 2,774 people participate in the registration survey. Of those, 1,926 have chosen hybrid for their children. 797 have chosen remote only, or roughly 29% of the respondents. 39 have shared they're going to homeschool, and 12 have shared that they will be sending their children to private parochial. Remember, please, to register by noon tomorrow. Please encourage your friends and neighbors to complete one for each child. Once we get the survey closed of registration, we are going to meet as an administrative team to start to staff, schedule, and route buses. Usually this occurs throughout the spring and most of the summer. Now we're going to have to complete it in the next few weeks. There will be changes due to the requests, and there's a lot of work in front of us over these next weeks. As far as transportation responses, 1,524 so far have shared that yes, they would still need bus transportation, and 1,250 will get their child or children to school. What does this do to our pickup and drop-off time is a common question. Great one. We're working on that answer. And when we have that in the next week or two, we'll be able to share it with you. A common question has come up. What is the hybrid versus the remote only? In the hybrid, students will participate in school in person 2 out of the 5 days a week, whether it's Monday, Thursday, or Tuesday, Friday. On Wednesday, all would be remote. On Wednesday, we'll be checking in with, our teachers will be checking in with the students while they're at home on the remote learning experience. during the day at some point. And so our goal being to explain next what is asynchronous versus synchronous. So synchronous means whether you're in class or at home with you're watching a lesson going on live in a classroom. Asynchronous is a recorded lesson that you have access to at any point. And so the difference between hybrid and remote is with remote only, you are home, you will have a teacher assigned to you, or teachers, depending on the age of the student. And the teacher will set up times for the child to be able to have in-person discussions, lessons, etc., using their laptop device. Hybrid, on days when they're home, will be able to, depending on the class, at the same time as students are in class, see the lesson and participate. And this will evolve as the year goes on and we do more training. So again, the difference being with hybrid, you're in school 2 days a week, home for 3, learning throughout. Remote, you do not attend school, but you are on a schedule at home during that week working with a teacher. The common question is, what happens with lunch? Elementary versus secondary. In elementary, our students will be in their classrooms and eat in their classrooms. At the secondary level, due to the transitions, they will be using a combination of both the cafeteria and other spaces near there to keep the kids socially distanced and able to eat. Schoology will be our main platform. Many of you that participated this spring and were able to use Schoology, it's a great resource. It's going to be where we have our recorded lessons so students and parents have access to it no matter what time they need to get to it. And it allows us to have one main platform for us to work back and forth with families. What about backpacks? Since lockers will be not used as much and as students transition during the day, backpack restrictions will be loosened to allow students to have a place to keep all their stuff so they don't have to go to the lockers. It's one last chance of kids coming into contact with each other during transitions. Face coverings, will they be required? Yes. Face coverings will be required for staff and students throughout the day. Transitions, what will they be like? As we get our requests finished tomorrow at noon, it'll allow us then to plan out how much of transitions we can and cannot have at the elementary and secondary level to minimize interactions of students with each other and trying to keep people safe. So transitions will be staggered, but they will be clearly defined within the next week and a half so that families can then see what that's going to look like for the day. Common question is, what's the difference between homeschool and remote learning? Remote learning, you're still working with a Gates Child teacher. Homeschool, you are educating the child yourself without the aid of the district. Please go to our FAQ to see the legal definitions of that. Common question coming up about how are we going to do our health screenings? The district has purchased an app called Qualtrics. Several districts in Monroe County are also using this app. Every morning, parents will need to check their children for signs of COVID-19. And they'll be asked to take an affirmation that their child does not have a fever and that they don't have the other symptoms, and then send that into the school via an app. Staff will also be using this to let us know that they are healthy and well and able to come to work. This will allow us to track this in a very efficient way, and so that we can ensure our students and staff, when they're entering school, are entering symptom-free. Common question is, do we trust our staff and parents to do this? Yes, we do, absolutely. I trust that parents and staff will do everything to keep themselves and others as healthy and safe as possible. If a student shows up that has not done it, their parents have not done the affirmation on the app, each building is developing a process to get the child screened as soon as possible, where they'll have their temperature checked and as well as check for other symptoms. What happens if a kid starts not feeling well at school? We have developed a process where our nurses will check the students and help isolate them right away and get them home as soon as possible. What happens is the positions from the Monroe County Health Department and work closely with them to make sure that we inform families and our staff and students and follow the Monroe County Health Department directions and how to handle each individual situation as they come forward. What will the district do with cleaning protocols and facilities? We will be regularly cleaning high-touch services. We are going to provide when everybody is on remote learning. It's not true. We are cleaning every night, every building, making sure that our cleaning protocols meet all standards required and exceed them to make sure that we provide the best environment for our students and staff while they're cleaning our buses between each run, which will make them a little more of a delay between runs of the buses, but we're making sure that our buses are clear to wear a face covering. Yes, all children that will be utilizing district bus service will be required to have a face covering the entire have that. You can't have hand sanitizer on the bus that has alcohol in it, but you can have it that is based in another way. What will happen if a child comes on that's not wearing a mask? The child will be offered a mask. If the child refuses or across from them, to ensure the safety of the other students, and each school will be dealing with their children that this may happen with. According to the regulations we have right now, September 21st is potentially the start date for athletics. It's also the same for clubs. We'll not be starting to do that by the Department of Health and New York State Ed. What about going on field trips for the spring at this point? So there will not be field trips in the fall, though we can do virtual ones. And another thing that has been asked is, what about the start of school year? At our previous board meeting, the board approved that previous week, we are having extensive trainings for all staff across the district as we prepare to have our kids come back and thing we've done before. So we're asking for the families to commit for enrollment for the fall semester only. And please do it by tomorrow at noon. Anyone that has not participated in the survey by noon tomorrow will be put into our hybrid model to start. So please take time, think possible, so that we can begin the process of making sure that we provide the best education possible for students, whether in their hybrid or fully remote mode. Now is the time where we can take some questions from the live chat. We'll give it a lot. Please allow us a moment to pull up the questions, and we will start shortly. I understand the video. The question is come in regard. Yes, we will start transportation the week before our students start on September 14th. Please. How will remote learning already have them? And they will have a teacher that will set up a schedule with them or similar version of what a Zoom is to have both synchronous and asynchronous opportunities to learn throughout the week. There will be a set schedule for students and families to plan around that we will share again after we get our numbers in tomorrow. So it allows us to plan out for how many people will be choosing between our hybrid and our remote models. So make sure. Have we taken into account working parents? Parents able to access the lessons if you're not able to do it during the day using our Schoology platform? Lessons will be recorded. Will teachers only be available during regular school hours? At this point, yes, but they will be accessible via email so that you would be able to get answers as soon as possible. You'll be required to wear masks on the bus. once they enter the bus and until they get off. The bus driver also obviously will be wearing a mask. Students will, if it's a common question that's come up is if a student gets on and refuses to wear a mask, we will first offer the student a mask. If they choose not to put it on, we are required by law to transport them to school. The school will deal with them and with their incident, have no one in the seat with them, across from them, or behind them as we socially distance to make sure the other students on the bus are safe. And we will deal with that on a case school help. We are currently working through to see what that's going to look like as far as transportation and as how our day ends, depending on whether it's a hybrid or remote only option. So we're looking at how that's going to be impacted by the decisions made over the next until tomorrow at noon to allow us to staff for that. At this point, depending on transportation requests, that will drive whether what we can do after school at this point. What programs are considered in district for the 4-day-a-week schedule? I assume that means the hybrid schedule. In district meaning in person would be anything that would be hands-on. It would be labs. It would be other things requiring manipulatives, etc. So it'll be up to the teacher's discretion what that looks like. And then as far as remote learning, a common question is, well, what won't be able to be done on remote learning? We're working through on some of our electives at the secondary level that would be hard to do on a remote only basis and seeing how we can adjust that. What about WMOCO? WMOCO is still offered and it's a half day on the Monroe 2 website for parents that need to see it, depending on which program they are talking about. But yes, they have talked about for the older students that attend WMOCO that have a car that they have created a lot that will allow them to drive there for on the days that they are not in information about that coming in the next couple weeks. How will students receive extra help if they are remote only? They will work with their teachers to get that extra help when needed. Where do you find the form to fill out at? It is on our website, and please, you can find it there under for our registration. hchili.org/enrollment. Intent. INTENT. Another question coming in. Will the kids who are hybrid be able to watch the lessons at any time? Yes, lessons will be recorded. It'll be on our Schoology platform so that if they need a refresh later on in the day or the next day, it would still be there. For hybrid, will they follow the normal school day schedule? Yes, hybrid will follow a schedule, whether they're elementary or secondary, that will be shared shortly. That will allow them to plan out their days and know when they have to be online or working at home independently. Already did that one, sorry. How many kids are hybrid in the high school and middle school? Basically, classes will range from 10 to 15 students based on the square footage of the classroom. Again, we have to have them socially distanced and spaced out. So it depends at a time. So depending on the size of the class will drive how many students can be in there at a time. For hybrid, will this follow the normal school day schedule? Yes. Can I highlight some of the most important lessons you learned about remote learning from last spring? Well, we assembled a plane midair, and we learned what levels some of our staff were at as far as using the devices, as well as our students. And it's driven this summer what we've been doing to develop our program, knowing that at some point we may have to go remote again, depending on how COVID-19 impacts us here in New York and our country. To our staff's credit, it's amazing how many have come in over the summer and have signed up for different sessions, whether remotely or in person, as well as the staff, the PD that we're planning the week leading up to school that will allow us to answer a lot of the questions that have come up throughout the spring of how we can do this better to get our staff comfortable with asynchronous and synchronous teaching throughout UPK 12. So these are things that we've taken very seriously and have really tried to hone our craft to make sure that no matter what remote learning, hybrid, or eventually hopefully in person to be available to all students and families, yes. Am I clear that kids learning remote will not have access to live classroom teaching? Instead, will have recorded lessons? No, it's a combination of both. There will be some live classroom and there will be some recorded lessons. What are the numbers that are going to go remote in K through 5th grade? I don't have that broken down right now. But roughly, if you look across the district, it's 30% of 29 to 30% of our students have given us the indication so far out of those that have filled it out that they would be seeking to go remote. And thank you for your patience. We worked to answer all the chat questions. We're going as fast as we can. When I say fall semester, does that mean first quarter or first and second quarter? It means first and second quarter. Will the rooms be, and we'll be using different methods to get desks clean. Students will have the opportunity to get a wipe to clean their desk as they come in. Throughout the day, when rooms are open, we'll be hitting the high-touch surfaces and cleaning them as often as possible. Do I need to add anything to that, Mr. English?
No, sir.
No, sir? Okay. How will children who have special services be able to receive their services there in the remote-only learning plan? We are working on that currently. Is there anything I should add?
No, just as with the spring, there'll be teletherapy that will be provided if they're remote.
Okay. Let's see. Is there flexibility in when the students will be expected to complete their work? My kids will end up being home alone since we both work full time. We are going to build in flexibility similar to the spring, but we're working on defining that so that both staff and students have clear expectations of what that looks like, but flexibility with different circumstances going on at home. Parents who choose to transport their kids elementary age to and from school, will we have to enter the school for drop off or pickup? No. We are working that out currently. We're going to try and limit people coming into the buildings as much as possible. And we'll be developing plans for that to share with you as we get closer to school starting. We are asked if desks are 6 feet apart, will they be allowed to remove masks during class? We will have mask breaks, but the expectation will be that students and staff will be wearing masks unless required by the lesson or eating lunch. We will schedule regular mask breaks for the kids during the day to allow them a chance to get a break from it, but we are going to require that students wear masks as well as staff, especially during transitions. Our community members, parents, and teachers presently working collaboratively on reopening plans. Yes, we had done that prior to this. We had over 100 members across all our units, including parents and board members that were involved in developing these plans. And we are currently fine-tuning them based on what's going to happen tomorrow with our registration. Can you go back up a little, please? I got to see the one just above. We are sorry for buffering. This video is being recorded and will be available on our district YouTube channel at the same link later tonight. After the decisions are made, can we change our minds during the year? We are asking for a commitment for the fall semester, but we understand there may be some unique circumstances that we would obviously have to take into consideration. How is band going to happen? Band is not going to be like it's been before where we have everybody in the same room. It's going to have to be more lesson-based, and we're currently working on how we can do that, but we will not be having band or chorus the way we have in the past. It'll be more lesson-based, based on the requirements and guidance from New York State. How many kids per classroom? As I said before, it'll be between 10 to 15, depending on the size of the classroom and what we can fit in safely, according to the requirements. What about gym or PE? Gym or PE requires a 12-foot spacing between students, and we'll be doing a lot more outside. There'll be a lot more project-based. There'll be a lot of things where they can do at home on the remote days, but our outstanding phys ed staff are working on how to make that possible still and done safely. Let's see, what about special ed students who go to the ADL house and the HOTS program?
We're still currently working with Monroe Kubotes to figure out those details.
Very good. Well, specifically for elementary, will remote learning only be on computers or a mix of computers, workbooks, and physical handouts? Remote learning will doctor notes be required for those students not required to wear masks, and will those students be in class with masked students? There will be a process established. I was on a call today with the Monroe County Department of Health. They will be giving us a process for families to request for students not to wear masks for a medical reason that they will have to go through, and our medical professional will determine whether or not that's allowed. If a student does have a medical excuse that is a district approved, that student would have to have barriers, meaning walls or kind of carrels separating them from other students in order to do it safely. Thus far, we do not have any requests for that. We anticipate those coming, but we are working with Monroe County Department of Health to make sure we follow all policies and procedures for any student or staff that asks for that. Does every child with an IEP qualify to attend 4 days a week? Yes. If the hybrid model is not working, is it possible to change to remote learning? Like I said earlier, if parents choose that they'd like to go to remote after experiencing the hybrid model, we would do it on a case-by-case basis and look at the capacity to be able to do that. Will Schoology be available to kindergarten kids? Yes. How many students are in the district total? 3,800? What if working families don't have childcare for the 3 days the students are home at the elementary level? We are putting together a list of childcare that have openings that we'll be releasing to the public this week. We're waiting on calls back from 3 of them, and then we'll be sharing with our community childcare in our area that is available for families. What will a schedule look like for remote high school students? I.e., will they have math at 7, 10, global 15? Will this be live as the class is going on? There will be a schedule that mixes both of that, that we'll be able to share once we know exactly how many kids are going which way, so we're able to prepare for that. Are laptops available for all kids, including kindergarten? Yes. Will middle and high school be on an 8-day schedule? No. Are there still classes like tech, culinary, art, music? We are looking at the classes that we're offering and making sure that they can work in both the hybrid and remote model as far as electives. We'll have more information on that once we know exactly how many staff and students are needed for each of our programs. What qualifies for a child to attend 4 days a week? IEP, 504 plan, 811. So IEP and 811 is yes. And what is specifically considered, we'll be answering more on that in our frequently asked questions. Will masks be worn in PE? Yes. How is ventilation going to work during the winter when it's freezing outside and windows and doors can't be opened? We are working with our contractors on making sure that all our ventilation not just meets but exceeds the requirements, and it already does. But as things evolve, we will make sure that we are addressing all that. What will chorus look like for high school students? Chorus will be lesson-based. We can't bring everyone together based on the requirements. Thus, it's going to look different, and we'll be able to share more of that as we get closer to seeing what we'll be able to run for the fall based on the requests. What are my top 2 concerns and challenges? My concerns are that tomorrow we're going to get the numbers and start being able to look at staffing, looking at where we can put our students in the best chances to succeed. And honestly say to you that the governor isn't going to take a left turn and go another way. And then we have to start all over again. So my top 2 concerns are that we are working to whatever changes come out of Albany and doing our best to make sure that our students and staff are safe and going forward. So our biggest challenge is that it keeps changing and that we are evolving as quick as possible. And I understand families' frustrations with us not having all the answers. We're trying to find the answers as soon as we're told what we have to learn that day. But our top 2 concerns, again, and always will be, the first one will always be the safety of our staff and students. The second is trying to adapt to whatever curveballs coming out of Albany in the next 4 weeks prior to kids coming back. Will incoming 6th and 9th graders be able to have an orientation this year? We are working on that to have some form of that. Yes, there will be. What it looks like we're working on. A lot of Mondays are holidays. How is this fair to kids whose days of school include Mondays? We will be adapting schedules to accommodate for that. Again, we know that the video may have been buffering. We'll take all of tonight's questions and add them to the FAQ section of our district website. And you can find those at gateschild.org/reopeningFAQ. Will kids be carrying laptops back and forth between home and school? Yes. Will students be using their lockers? We will start off not using lockers in the fall. That's why students will be able to use their backpacks unlike before. And then as it gets colder, we will evaluate how we can use lockers safely, trying to limit the amount of time that kids are interacting in the hallways in order to keep them safe. As a parent of 2 elementary students, I had to print of sheets at home in the spring, which wasn't cheap. If we were doing remote learning, is there a way to pick up any worksheets? We can look into that, but we do not have a plan for that right now. What will happen with the kids that were getting services but haven't yet received an IEP? Will they be able to go 4 days a week?
If they do not have an IEP, they will not be able to go 4 days a week. But on the days that they are here, we will prioritize students so that they can receive the services that they were receiving to the greatest extent possible.
Thank you. Can you repeat that, please?
Louder.
Jason, louder.
So for our students who are receiving services, they will not be attending 4 days a week if they don't have an IEP. However, they will be able to receive the related services on the days that they are here in the hybrid model to the greatest extent possible.
Okay, I know that you want us to make a decision by tomorrow, but I think your answers are vague. I'm being as specific as I can with you, and we need a commitment so that we can start scheduling and get our and adjust our staffing across the district. Again, I understand. I wish I could give you all the answers. These are the answers we currently have. Will we reevaluate for the second semester? We will be reevaluating roughly every week how things are going. But yes, we will reevaluate for the second semester. We'll be looking at how this evolves as a town, as a city, as a state, as a country, and the impact it has on our students and staff and community. So we'll be reevaluating regularly and communicating with you in regards to that. Will there be updates to the school supply list? Yes, there will be. You'll see that we're asking families to get backpacks that can hold a computer. as well as water bottles. We are eliminating drinking fountains and we'll have water bottle filling stations versus drinking fountains in order to reduce kids sharing germs, as well as that. And we'll provide a water bottle to each student and staff member in case they leave one at home so that they are not without during the day. Will a K-5 student who chooses remote be assigned a teacher who is teaching hybrid or someone different? Great question. That's something that we've got to work out based on what the requests that come in by noon tomorrow. But yes, they will be assigned a teacher, and we will have more information on that as soon as we can start staffing. And again, we share your frustration with the uncertainty still looming. Once we have our enrollment numbers, we can begin our next layer of planning, which will answer a lot of your questions that I know you have. What date does the second semester start? The second semester starts at the end of January. Do you think the advantage of a hybrid model outweigh the risks? If childcare is an issue, which option do you think is better? I believe that students interacting with an outstanding teacher in person is one of the most important models you can use to improve a student's outcome long term. At the same time, I totally respect a family's decision on what's best for them. We have to ensure that we offer two great programs, and we will. And we will continue to look to improve, and your feedback will be essential. So it's something we can offer, and a lot of the families that participated in our surveys have shared with us they wanted in-person or hybrid. To at least there's some portion of in-person, because we all know how important that teacher-student relationship is. And the in-person aspect of it is something that we've heard from you. Our community is important. And so we're trying to offer that within the rules that have been established by the New York State Education Department and Department of Health. How will we handle flu season versus COVID-19? We will be following all the directives and protocols of our state and local Department of Health to make sure that we are as clean as possible, as safe as possible, and prepared as possible. If in doubt, I think changing your mind from hybrid to remote will be easier than changing from remote to hybrid. Absolutely. I believe that is true as well, but we won't know until we get everything together to see what those numbers truly look like. Will we be hiring more nurses or other specific types of staff? Again, it's determined on where things end tomorrow, and then what we're allowed to offer currently versus what could happen in the next 3 weeks with mandates out of Albany. If a student is sent home for a period of time due to symptoms or possible exposure, will they switch to learning remotely during that time? They would be able to stay with their class that they're on hybrid with. But yes, they would be learning using their devices at home, but be able to participate in the class as much as possible during that time. Will K-5 students be bringing laptops back and forth, or just the older kids? They all will, because they'll need them while they're at home on their remote days if they are in a hybrid model. If remote learning is chosen, will they need the same school supplies as a hybrid student? It depends on the teacher, but we'll have more information about that shortly when we're able to staff. If a student is sent home for a period of time due to symptoms, do they need to quarantine for 10 days or negative test in order to come back? Which one do they need, or do they do both? If a student is sent home with symptoms, they need a doctor's, a physician's note to be able to come back. And whatever else the Monroe County Department of Health tells us between now and the beginning of school that we will have to mandate. So that answer has evolved from the beginning of the summer to today, and probably will evolve again by the time school starts. But right now, they would absolutely need a note from their physician or healthcare provider that says that they are okay to come back. What is the protocol for substitutes? And will subs go through the same training that regular teachers go through? Yes. They will be trained in all the same things that our teachers are at the beginning of the year, so that they are able to come in and help out and be safe. As the year progresses, will students return to more days at school? There would be nothing that makes me happier and that we are safe and able to loosen some of the restrictions that would allow us to have all our students return to school on a regular basis. That's the goal, and that's what I hope we get to. I hope that it evolves, that as a country we're able to get a vaccine to limit the impact of this virus, that will allow us to bring some normalcy back for our students and our staff. Will students utilize volunteers in school? No, we are limiting those coming into the buildings. So we will be minimizing people coming into school so that it allows us to keep a very closed environment to keep our students and staff as safe as possible. Are masks mandatory? Yes. What will be required for elementary students during the home portion of hybrid learning? Will it be online class or just worksheets and videos? It will be a combination of all. Remote learning is not going to be the same as in-person learning. There are many families that have no idea how they will manage younger students being home when the parents are working. I totally sympathize with that. If a child gets sick, even if not COVID, will the parents of their classmates be notified? Obviously not saying the child's name to protect privacy. We will be handling this the same way we have, depending on what they get sick with, things such as that, and inform parents as needed and as allowed. And the parent portal will be used for communication contact. It currently is not honoring updates for correct contact information. Those requests are waiting to be approved, and those approvals should happen this week, so yes. What does the teachers union think about the situation? What are their concerns and priorities? Well, they're concerned with safety. They're concerned with how we're going to clean, the same things that everyone's concerned with that we're working to answer. Our teachers union's been phenomenal. They keep students first, and they've been great to work with and continue to be as we try and figure out this puzzle to get everybody back as safe and sound as possible. Will the lunches be free or come out of our accounts when school starts? It will be back to regular ways of lunches. The federal government has not reinstituted that everyone can eat for free. So we'll be back that if you qualify for free or reduced lunch, you would get that, or be paying full if you do not. So yes, it will be back to the regular way or the old way for kids' accounts. Will the district lay out expectations about assessments and learning objectives or individual schools or individual teachers? We will have district-wide expectations that each school will implement, and then the teachers will share. Will a child who learns remotely have access to the school psychologist? Yes. This pandemic has affected our children's mental health more than we realize. Will that be available? Yes. That's why we have asked for everybody to complete the social emotional wellness survey that came out in the email via today. Please do that so that we can adequately staff and respond to both our hybrid and remote learners, their needs to help them and their families. Again, we just want to say thank you to all who are watching live with us tonight. The recording will be available after this for you to be able to use. Is there a list of tutors available? We are gathering that as we speak. It's been a common request. So we are reaching out to individuals to see if they'd like to be on a list that we would make available. Will there be a cost for tutors? Yes, that would be an individual family's choice. How does lunch work for remote learners? Will be the same as if in school. We will be releasing a schedule where families could come and pick it up to take home, similar to how it was this summer. It will not be at each school. We are working out where that will be coming from, but it'll be a set time where families could come, pick it up, and go home. What will happen to students who take off their masks and cough or sneeze in someone's face on purpose? This has happened. We will be addressing that with the code of conduct. on an individual basis, and it will be handled as a health and wellness safety violation. What will happen to my kid's schedule for classes like a welding elective or peer leadership? We're working on that currently. If they're doing welding at Wamoco, they will still be able to do that by attending. And peer leadership, we're working on currently. Is the pool open or will it be used? We are not allowed to use it currently as a school, and we're waiting on guidance for that. So no, it is not open for general use at this time. How will you be utilizing para-educators for students with IEPs?
We will be using our paraprofessionals in the same manner that we would for our students who are here, and they will also be supporting students who are participating remotely.
What are the plans for contact tracing? Will everyone who comes in contact with any member of class be notified if a student staff member tests positive? We will be following the directions of the Monroe County Health Department, who will direct us. They will handle contact tracing, and they will direct us on who to contact and when, and we will follow their procedures to the letter of the law, as we've done throughout the spring and summer. Which would be easier, most hygienic, send a lunch or have my kids buy lunch? Great question. I don't have an answer to that. That's one I had not thought of yet. I'm going to have to look into that. We'll have that on our FAQ. When can families who choose remote learning expect to find out more details about the child's teacher's schedule and courses? We hope to have that to everybody by within the next 2 weeks. Again, we have to start tomorrow afternoon once we get everything and get everything going. Our timeline is hopefully in the next 2 weeks to be able to let families know what that's going to look like. Again, we are starting from scratch again based on this, and so we will as quick as possible. We chose bus transportation. Can we change our decision as the school year progresses? If you choose not to send your child on the bus, yes, you can choose to do that. If you need transportation later on, we would have to see, based on the capacity of the buses, whether we can honor that or not going forward. But again, we will look at these on individual basis to see what we can accommodate. How are the capital construction projects going? Will it continue during the school year? Yes. They are progressing well. The middle school is closing up their project, and it will be ready to be unveiled for school. Both Neil Armstrong and Disney are currently under construction and are significantly ahead of schedule, which is great. But yes, they will be going on. They have to follow the same procedures. They will not have contact with the kids, but they are following the same safety protocols that we are putting on everyone else. How can we best support our children's teachers? Best thing you can do is whatever advice they give you in aiding your child's learning and being available for your children and support. Our teachers are outstanding in Gates Tri-Li. They are working tremendously hard to prepare for a very, very different kind of environment than we've experienced before. And I truly am appreciative of the tremendous professionalism being shown. So how can you support your children's teachers? Having your kids be as much as possible on when they're needed to be and backing them up when they need help and communicating regularly with our teachers so that they can help you help your child. What will be replacing Band of My Child's schedule if they only have lessons? That is what we'll be working on and be able to share with you shortly. How will remote learners get their PE credit for this school year? We are creating units that they'll be able to do remotely at home that will allow them to get PE credit. Will there be a bus safety training for new kindergarten kids?
We're working on that.
We are working on that as well. Okay, we have 8 minutes left. Just a reminder that the enrollment intent form is due tomorrow by noon. Please fill it out as best you can so we can begin planning and get back to you as soon as we possibly can. And I want to emphasize again, our top priority is the safety health, and wellness of our students and staff. We will adhere to and exceed New York State guidelines. Carla Bartello says the GCSD teachers did a great job in the spring. So thank you, Carla, for sharing that. Andrea shared, we do have amazing teachers in the district. Had any added support been put in place for them, especially those who are not tech savvy? Yes, we are working to train all our teachers to be successful. And through their dedication and passion, we will be. Will there be any kind of kindergarten orientation? Yes, we are working on that and we'll communicate that shortly. How can community members, businesses, etc. help? Donating school supplies for some of our neediest families would be great. That's always something that can help. Donating backpacks, donating individual things for students to be able to have access to, whether remote or in person. Students are only going to be in class twice a week. Are they going to be pulled out of these classes for band lessons? No, they would be doing that on virtual days. What accommodations have been made for schools with open classrooms? We have made sure to accommodate all the requirements in the guidance for spacing and air circulation so that they are as safe as possible. When's our next forum? We're hoping to have it this Thursday at noon to follow up with any questions we're not able to get to tonight and whatever evolves out of Albany to share with us versus from the governor, New York State Ed, or the health department. And I want to emphasize when I'm talking about the Monroe County Health Department, they've been phenomenal to work with. They are very accessible and their guidance has been outstanding. They have really, really helped us answer some very difficult questions as we're trying to navigate these uncharted waters. Will there be, when is the next forum? We share that. Can 3D printed mask straps be donated? Yes. Shawnette says, thank you to the entire task force for working so hard this summer and to our teachers for what they did during the spring semester. Yeah, I give tremendous credit to the families as well. Our staff did outstanding, but families evolved in the spring to really and adapted to create as much normalcy as possible for our kids. We understand it hasn't been easy, but these are unprecedented times. And what is amazing about the Gates Charlie community is we've all come together and try to keep the focus on our kids. We'll continue to do that. Thank you so much for taking the time tonight. Excuse me, a little dry mouth. I'm talking a little. We thank you for your support. We know this hasn't been easy, but I want you to know we have looked at every article. We've looked at every question. We've looked at what other districts are doing well and what maybe isn't going to work. And we're putting together things that are going to be great for our Spartan students and our staff. The team behind me is dedicated, along with all our administration and our food service, who did unbelievable work, again, feeding our families throughout the spring and summer. Our buildings and grounds staff that continuously clean and make sure we have the safest environment possible. Our transportation department that's ready to take care of your kids and get them here. And again, our teaching and paraprofessionals that are dedicated to making the education the best way they can for our students and our outstanding administration. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this. I'm sure there'll be more questions. We'll answer them as quickly as we can. We have one more question. Can students have hand sanitizer in their book bags? Yes, they can. Again, thank you. And on behalf of the Board of Education and the administration of the Gates Charlie Central School District, have a great evening. Be safe, wash your hands, wear a mask, and keep socially distanced. Go Spartans.